Hello. It was not long after I started getting interested in woodworking that I realized the importance of jigs in the trade. However, I very quickly became disillusioned and disappointed because when I was looking at self-made jigs, which are the cheapest way to start using jigs, I found out that most of them are more complicated than the projects I wanted to use the jigs for. So I've set out to create simple jigs and help beginning woodworkers like myself achieve good results. One of the first jigs that I built was a table saw sled, and I will show you that construction at a different video. But today I want to talk about a very simple jig, that it is a tapering jig. It can be used with good results both on the table saw and on the bandsaw. So here we go. So I'm building a tapering jig to easier make table legs, because up to now I've been doing it by hand on my bandsaw and the results are good, but they're not always very consistent. So I'm going to use a hinge on this end to connect those two so they can close and open freely. And then I'm going to create a mechanism by which we can open them at any denomination that we desire, at any length that we desire. Alright. Because of the small size of the wood and direction of the grain, it will be necessary here to pre-drill holes before we use the screws so that we will not split the wood. At this stage I only attach two opposing screws, one on each board, so I can check the operation of the jig, which as you see operates very smoothly. And then I will go on and complete by installing all the screws, but at this moment the jig operates very smoothly. On the end that is opposite of the hinge, in one of the two members of the jig, I will attach a little piece of wood that will work as a stop. This is an important step and will allow the jig to be used with both a table saw and a bandsaw. I used a single piece of screw, a single screw and some wood glue to keep that piece on the edge of the board, and that will be pretty strong to hold whatever I'm trying to taper in place. The next step is to create a channel that will allow the two members of the jig to open and close, and I decided to do that on my drill press because this wood that I'm using is fairly thin and very soft. Started with a scrap of wood, just like this, and cut it in half. And this is the final jig. As you can see, it's very simple. And I will show you in a minute step-by-step directions on how to use it. It can open and close. It is not heavy, it's not bulky. That's another thing that I noticed. Everyone is building very bulky jigs which require a lot of space to store. However, my workshop is my garage, so I do not have that luxury. This jig is very efficient and provides very consistent results. In another video I will show you how I use it. Simply, I've created with a piece of wood which I reinforced here on the pivot point, and the only reason I reinforced it is because that is the biggest stress of the whole device, is right here. I chose to create a pivot point with a simple nail rather than a screw because I wanted the least amount of friction. Also, the reinforcement not only keeps the jig very straight, but also makes it less likely for this nail to get off. Then I created a channel to allow the jig to travel, and then I use just a washer and a nut. Underneath, you want the jig to be absolutely flat, so you want to countersink that bolt. And on one end of the jig, the end that actually moves, you want to have, I'm sorry about this, you want to have something so your wood can stop, so you don't have to hold it as you're pushing it through the table saw or the bandsaw. This jig, unlike all the ones that I've seen so far, is rather thin, as you can see. It is not thick, but it is very sturdy. It's totally flat in the bottom and provides very consistent results. A very simple and inexpensive piece of hardware allows the jig to open and close. Now, one of the biggest problems that I found when I started woodworking was how to make very accurate cuts without having to measure a lot, especially how to cut boards that may not be in a nice denomination like 2 inches or 4 inches or 6 inches. And also how to account for the blade's curve. My favorite tool for cutting boards is actually the bandsaw, and I will show you a trick on how to cut a board in half without measuring at all. The result is a board that is perfectly cut in half without having to spend a lot of time measuring, without calculations and without mistakes. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, subscribe and share, and I will see you again next week.